What's going on, guys? Welcome to my how to make better thumbnails kind of tutorial video. This is the first video of its kind that I've made for my channel, and I wasn't really planning on doing it, but I keep seeing people asking how they can make better thumbnails, how they can improve their Photoshop skills, how they can learn how to do certain things. So I figured I would put something together because I might not be a Photoshop pro, but I've been doing photography for close to a decade now, and I've had to learn a lot of stuff that relate to Photoshop. So hopefully I'll be able to give you some tips and techniques that you can use for your own thumbnails. So this is a little example of the thumbnails that I make. I understand it might not be everyone's cup of tea, but the techniques I'm gonna show you guys today, you'll be able to use for anything else. They're not just for these types of thumbnails. So I'm gonna be making 3 different ones. One for my upcoming Honeypop episode, one for this game that's called Welcome Home Master, I believe, and then this one, which is we're basically gonna remake kind of this thumbnail that I used for my Rocket League special episode. Yeah, so let's go in order. Let's start with this one. So I already brought in the images. So I have this, which is a PNG, which means it's transparent, so anything behind it will show right up. And then we have this. So I already have a transparent logo, but I want to show you guys how you can do it yourself, how you can make your own logo selection to use for thumbnails. So first of all, remember, make yourself a little thumbnail template. That way you can just go new thumbnail, okay, create new one. You won't have to select the numbers every time. You'll gain maybe 5 seconds, but believe me, after the 25th, 30th thumbnail, you'll want to save as much time as you want. So I'm also a fan of shortcuts, keyboard shortcuts, so I will be giving out as many of them as I can. So starting with W for the quick selection tool. It's W because it's the magic wand. So we have the quick selection tool. We're gonna make it a little bit bigger by clicking the square brackets. The one opening to the right makes it smaller, the one opening to the left makes it bigger. So we're gonna make it about that big. The smaller it is, the more accurate it is, the more precise it is. So yeah, that's looking pretty good. Of course, it's really easy for this logo in particular to select it, but it will be harder for certain other ones. For example, if it's like a brown logo against a dark green background, that'll be a little harder, but it's still simple-ish to do. So we go into Refine Edge up here, go up here, Refine Edge, and then we're just gonna make it a little smooth, and I'll show you what that does. As you can see, the ends here are a little jagged. If you do smooth, it just makes it smoother and nicer. Hit OK, and then hit Ctrl J, which duplicates the layer. In this case, it duplicates the selection that we had, and boom, there you have it. Alright, so we have that background and the characters. So first thing we want to do is find a nice color for the background that goes with the rest of the thumbnail. In this case, we can do maybe some kind of, I don't know, cream, orangey, I don't know. What I like to do is select my brush tool. B is the shortcut. When I say B, I mean just B. You don't need, that's not the tool, that's not the kind of brush I want it. We will need that later. I just want a simple brush. I don't care what it is. Actually, it doesn't matter what it is, as long as it's a brush. Anyway, you select brush, then press Alt, and you can click anywhere on the image, and it will select with a eyedropper tool and give you the color right there. So, for example, she's blonde, so let's go with this. Let's see what that looks like. Gradient tool, gradient paint bucket tool, which is G, because it's a gradient tool is selected, but I have selected that, and okay, that's not looking bad. That's a pretty good one already. Let's see if we can make it a little pinker. I have kind of a pink theme going on with these thumbnails because it's, you know, it makes sense. The game is kind of pinkish. No. Alright, yeah, I can live with that. I don't know why it showed that, but okay. Let's do, okay, now we have this, then we have the characters. So let's go into this I don't know what the shortcut is. U, custom shape tool. We're gonna custom shape, go up here. It gives you some preset shapes that are pretty terrible in general, but there are a few that could be used. So I already have that one selected, so what I do is click here, drag it all the way down here, let go, done. And now you have that little thing. Again, this is what I do. This is the theme that I have for my honeypop thumbnail, so I'm gonna stick to that for the time being. I'm gonna hit enter, and then I actually kind of like the colors in this. I want to make the yellow a little bit yellower, like, yes, like that. Maybe, what about the pink a little bit pinker? Let's see. Yeah, you know what, that's looking pretty good. Let's do that. So yeah, we have that, and the one problem that I have is that this is a little distracting. These rays are cool but a little distracting. So what I want to do is go into filter with that layer selected, go into filter, blur, Gaussian blur. It'll ask you to convert it to a smart object or rasterize it, so do that so you can edit it, and then just give it a little bit of fuzziness so that it's not, doesn't steal the attention, but it's still noticeable. So something like that. And also because this is the way the human eye kind of works. You know, you can't focus on something that's in the foreground and in the background at the same time. That's why when you see professionally taken photographs, they usually have a blurry background. It's because those cameras are able to give the background that nice smooth blur, so that you can focus on what the subject is. Okay, so we have that. Next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna move her over here. I'm actually gonna make her a little bit bigger because I don't need her to be like that. Control T, by the way, as long as you have the layer selected. Right now I have the character layer selected. Hit Control T and you can free transform it. And if you hold down Shift, if you don't hold down Shift, you can do this, which makes it flip around, do whatever you want. But if you do hold down Shift, it'll preserve the original size, I guess, aspect ratio, whatever you want to call it. So do that, get her over here like that. Do the same thing with the logo, move this thing around a little bit. Again, Control T. Let's rotate it just a bit. Oh, and fits nice in that little curve right there. That's unexpected, but very welcome. And we're gonna go into select character, go into layer, layer style, and then you have all these options. No matter which one you click, it'll bring up this panel. And then we're gonna pick, I usually give outer glow, drop shadow, and sometimes some stroke. So we're gonna see what happens here. Once again, I like to start with a color that's on the actual image. So in this case, I think that's our best bet for making her stand out a little bit. Maybe make it a little brighter. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. Okay, let's do that and play around with the spread. Blend mode is sometimes on normal, sometimes on screen. I think screen is the preset, but I personally like normal because it gives me the ability to use actual colors. Colors set on screen tend to be very white, and I don't like that. I like to use colors. So we're gonna increase the spread just a tad. Increase that, not that much, but okay. Nope, okay. 16. And nope, no, not that. Give her some drop shadow. Not that much. I like to keep things as subtle as I can. I don't like looking at my image and be like, oh, it's obvious that I did so and so. I want to, if it's not noticeable, then I know that I did good. So outer glow, I want to give it maybe like 20. Just gonna give it a little bit more. Seems like it's not making much of a difference. It's 30. Okay, that's better. Let's leave it at that. And then we're gonna go select this one, and again, layer style. You can click blending options so that it doesn't pre-select any and it just brings up the panel. And then again, outer glow, drop shadow, and that's it. Okay, so outer glow, I want to give it a little bit more glow since it's or a little brighter actually. There we go, there we go. Okay, okay, so yeah, that's that for that. Yeah, and we're gonna put a number on it because that's again the format. This is episode 6, so I'm gonna put 6, drag it over there, deselect the type tool and go again into, actually no, I do need to select the type tool because I didn't choose the right font. When you select this, something that I really like to do is ctrl H, which hides the selection, so it's still selected and you can still, you know, change the font and change the everything, but it doesn't show it to you. So ctrl H to hide. We're gonna go, I have a font that I use for these thumbnails, which is, I know it's down here somewhere, oh there we go, Valentine Oblique. I don't know if it was actually made for this game or if it just looks a lot like it, but I don't know. Okay, so we're gonna control T, just spin it just a little bit, make it a little bit bigger. Okay, it's looking pretty good. And then just like before, we're going to layer, style, blending options, and we can do the same thing to this. But in this case, we're also going to give it a gradient overlay. Not that one, because it makes absolutely no sense. But we're going to go in here, and we're going to give it the same gradient used in the actual logo, in the actual text. That's looking pretty good, I think. Yeah, let's do that, yeah. Wait, I want to bring it up so that it's not... Okay, there we go. So we have that, we're going to give it some outer glow. No drop shadow in this case. Don't ask me why, I just don't feel like it. And stroke. For the stroke, we're going to give it the same color as the stroke that the logo has, so that kind of like light purple, I guess. There we go. And for the outer glow, we're going to give it the same color as the darker purple thing. Okay. Stroke, I want it to be on the outside though, not in the center. And then we're going to give it some inner shadow and inner glow, and I'll show you what that does. It's pretty much unnoticeable, but if you keep an eye on the edges, on the inside edges of this inner shadow, it just gives it that kind of like 3D look and inner glow, which is more noticeable down here on the inside. Here, I'll do it again. There you go. Doesn't add too much, but it adds a little bit of something that I like, so I go with it. Alright, so that's it for this one. Let's move on to this ridiculous thing that we're about to make happen. And another thing I forgot to mention, always zoom out a lot, because this is the size that some people will see your thumbnails at. So you want to make sure that you can still kind of make out what your thumbnail is saying, especially the title or characters, whatever you want people to see. So now we have this guy and we have our background. So first thing I want to do is get rid of this paw, which is cute, but does not really help me in the grand scheme of things. So the way I do it, we're going to select the patch tool, shortcut is J. All you have to do with the path tool, I love it to bits. You just select your thing. All you have to do before you select the patch tool, you have to rasterize your layers, because I placed them in here, and when you place something in Photoshop, for some reason you have to rasterize it in order to edit it. So once that's done, select and then just drag it to some area that has the same tone and let go. And Control D to deselect it. Boom, taking care of that. Another way to do this, another way to delete or erase parts of your canvas, I guess. You can select, there's a million ways that you can select things with. You can select it with the Marquee tool, you can select it with the Lasso tool, you can select it with whatever the hell you want. It really does not matter at all. So let's do this. In this case, boom. And then we're gonna right click on it. I'm gonna do fill, and we're gonna do content aware. Sometimes it's on foreground or background color. You want it to be on content aware. Hit OK, and that's pretty good already. But it's not perfect because this little area here, it's not very good. So in order to do that, I'm going to do into clone stamp tool, S, go away. Okay, S is selected, and then hit, make sure that it's not too hard, not too soft, so like somewhere around there. So you still want some feather around it, but not too much. And then Alt to select somewhere around the middle of that, and now we have that copied. So all we gotta do is just make sure that it's aligned right. Just start it whenever we need to start it, and just draw over it. Boom. Done. May not be perfect, it's a little wobbly, but can you really tell? I cannot. And last but not least, I need to move this one out of the way too. So here, I'll just show you how it would do it again. Patch tool, select the thing. It looks a lot like a penis. Oh, damn it. Okay, for example, if you do this, if you mess up a selection, there's something that you don't need, you can just go, select your wand tool, and then hit Alt, and you'll see there's a minus sign in there. There's a plus, and then you hit Alt, and there's a minus, and you just go over it, and it will unselect it. Just like that. And then if you want to add a little bit, for example, here you can just press Shift. This works on anything. Like the one thing, you can press Shift, and it will add it to it. Same thing with the patch tool. So if I press Shift, and I just drag extra content in here, it will just, that was my bad, I needed to finish the selection, but there, boom. So now we have that, move this over to the side, like that, and that's pretty good. Yeah, might not be perfect, but again, I don't care because I'm going to be putting this guy in front of it. Yes, I will put this guy's face as big as it can be. Okay, so that's pretty good. Okay, let's leave it at that. The one thing I don't like is how choppy the edges are. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select my wand tool again, my trusted wand tool, and just select that guy. It was that easy because this is a transparent image, so there's no background. So the wand tool, it's like, okay, this is all that I have to select. There's nothing else, so it won't select anything else. And then Control Shift I, refine edge. Control Shift I is select inverse, by the way. Oh wait, actually, you know what? Let me undo that. Refine edge, and I'm gonna smoothen it out. Smooth. Okay. And then Control Shift I, because Control Shift I is because if I hit delete now, this would happen. But instead, I want the outer edges to be deleted like this. Boom, and then Control D to deselect it, and that's pretty good. Now we need to give it some, again, some glow, some drop shadow. I like these because, again, they're a nice way to make different elements stand out more or less. Some people might hate it, some people might love it, I don't know, and I don't really care. I like it for now. I might change it eventually, but as of now, I think it works pretty well for what I'm trying to do. We're gonna make it drop shadow. You can change the angle that the light is coming from. So if it's pointing down here, imagine that there is a light bulb right here and the shadow is being cast back there. So let me increase that so you can see it. There you go. And if you point it down, it's like he's telling a scary story around a campfire or something. If it's pointed from here, it's gonna go to the left, and so on and so forth. So in this case, I want it to go like this. Wait, should I do it like that? Okay, let's bring down this first of all. Yeah, no, I like that. Okay, again, don't make it too obvious. You just want it to be there just so that it kind of, you know, makes this thing pop a little bit. So we have that, and that's good for that. And now what we need is some text. This game does have a logo, and I do have the logo, but I don't think it would work. So I'm gonna make my own. So we're gonna put in the title of this game, which is Welcome, all caps, Welcome Home Master. Okay, and then we're gonna move it closer to here, so it's within the thing, and then deselect it. Once again, layer style. Let's start with the gradient this time. Let's see, what gradient can we give it? Let's do... I want to have some pink because there's a lot of pink in this game. So I think it would go well with the rest of the image. Yeah, I mean, something like that is nice. It actually kind of looks pretty good with the yellow as well, but I want the yellow to be a little bit brighter. Like... Yes, that is good. To me, at least. Okay, now we have that, but as you can see, if I zoom out, you can't really make out what the hell it's saying. So, how are we gonna do that? We're gonna give it some stroke, and we're gonna give it some outer glow and some drop shadow. Now, we're gonna need to fix those a little bit, of course, but let's start somewhere. Let's start stroke. We're gonna give it some white stroke. I think that might make it pop. Okay, let's do like 6. Let's do, you know what? I'm gonna go a little bit crazy. I'm gonna put it in the center so that it's not as messy. And then let's see. Okay, let's leave it at that for now. And we're gonna put some maybe pink glow. Ooh, okay. Okay, I can live with that. I can live with that. Alright, that's looking pretty good. Let's see what it looks like from a distance. Alright, that's a lot easier to read. I do not very much care for the font though, so I'm going to change that. And I think I have a font that would work really well for this. It's right over Valentine. What is... Ooh, no. It's a little too many hearts. Let's see if we can do something about that. I think, oh, there we go. Ooh, oh, I see. So I can make it, okay. I can do that. Master, there we go. What about... Is that too complicated? How does that read? Well, let's see. Okay, the second O, I think, is the only one that makes sense. The other ones, or at least the 2 O's, are somewhat easy to read. No, I'm gonna change the first one into a regular O. I'm also missing an A. An E, sorry. Not an A. I'm forgetting the words. Okay, so we have that. That's looking pretty good. And deselect that. Now, the one problem I have is that it's covering this guy's face, which, you know, some would say, who gives a shit? But he's the guest. He's the special guest of this thumbnail. So let's try. I'm gonna put the text behind it, which immediately makes a huge difference. But the problem is the welcome is fine. That one is okay. Actually, I need the text to be smaller than that. I don't need it to be that massive. Okay, and center it. Okay, I'm gonna make the Doge a little bit smaller too, or not smaller necessarily, but just kind of there. There we go. Perfect. Now you can read welcome, you can read master almost, although I do want to move this just the master. Problem is right now this is just one big thing. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna right click on this layer. I'm gonna do rasterize layer style so it gets rid of all those options, and now it allows me to just select that, so I can duplicate it. So I only have that, and now I can go into this layer, select that part, delete it. So now I have one layer right here with just welcome home, and then I have one layer down here with just master. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the layer that says master and move it on top of the dog, and that's it. And then I'm gonna take it, I'm gonna move it a little bit. I press V for the move tool, which is really convenient because you can just select little things and move them around as you please. And I'm gonna leave it that. I think that looks pretty good. I think it reads decently. Yeah. I'm gonna make one change. Wait, can I? Crappity. I cannot. Okay, I'm gonna need to undo a few times. Oh, and by the way, this is the perfect chance to tell you guys how to do that, because I'm sure a lot of people know how to undo, which is Ctrl Z, but how do you undo multiple steps is by doing Ctrl Alt Z. I'll show you what I mean by that. If you have, actually, you know what? Screw it. Let's just do this. Say you make one adjustment, and then you make another adjustment, and then you want to undo them. If you only press Ctrl Z once, then it'll delete the last one, but if you press it again, it'll just redo it. So what do you do if you have, you know, multiple steps that you've messed up, like you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? What are you going to do? If you press Ctrl Z over and over again, it'll just redo the same one. So you press Ctrl Alt Z, and then keep pressing, hold down Ctrl and Alt, and just keep pressing Z, and it'll undo. I don't know how many steps. I think that depends on your settings, your Photoshop settings. There should be a setting that'll let you increase or decrease that. But yeah, so I'm gonna change that into a regular O, and I'm gonna put, there we go. That the heart already looks like a W, so that works. Okay, it works for me. Now I do want to do a couple more things. First one is I'm going to increase the brightness and contrast of this guy. You can do that. You can do that with levels. You can do that with curves. Like if you have curves, you can just make a little S curve, and boom, there you have the contrast. Or you can do it with levels. You can just bring up. If I can select it, you can just bring up the blacks a little bit, bring up the whites a little bit, kind of thing. But personally, I just prefer doing it with the brightness and contrast tool, because it's really simple. Just drag it out a little bit, increase the contrast a little bit, and there you have it. And then same thing. The reason why I do this, by the way, is because it helps drawing the eye to what you want it to look at. Contrast in like temperature, in color, in saturation, in like contrast in general will grab your attention. You can do that. You know, I could make the background desaturated, for example. I could just go into saturation and just bring it all the way back down, and immediately your eye will not be focusing on the background as much as they were before. So there's a variety of ways to direct the eye where you want it to go, but brightness and contrast is one of them. The other one is by blurring out the background. For example, I'm going to go select the background, go into filter, blur, Gaussian blur, and then you can do it as much as you want. I like to keep it reasonable, but if we zoom out, the best thing about this is that, of course, if you do this, then yeah, you won't see anything. But if you do it like this, you can still see what's going on behind, right? Like you can tell that it's a house. I mean, you can tell because you saw me do it from the beginning. But if you zoom in, you'll see how blurry it actually is. That's because the eye, the human eye, can just make up for that lost information. You don't always have to do it, but sometimes I think it helps. Okay, so we're gonna redo this. Right click, rasterize, Marquee tool, shortcut is M, Control G to duplicate that little bit, and then select this, delete that, and now with this selected, we're gonna move it on top of the little Doge guy, and Control T to move it. Again, Control T is not necessary. You can do Control T, or you can just select the move tool and just move it around as you please. Alright, well, I guess that's it for this one. That one is looking pretty good, so I'm gonna leave it at that, and we're gonna move on to the third and last one. So we're gonna try and make this, or kind of remake this, because I didn't have this image anymore, or at least I didn't feel like going and screenshotting it again, so we're gonna have to make do with this one. But the idea behind it is the same. First thing we're gonna have to do is obviously erase the background. So how are we gonna do that? There's a million ways to do this. You can do it with the Lasso tool. You can just like really carefully go around the thing and just like do that, or you can use the polygonal Lasso tool, which works for curves too, because you can just put as many little tap thingies as you need and just select it. But of course, you know, you can also just do it roughly like that, or you can do it with the magnetic Lasso tool, which is really, really cool. As you just tap once, or click once, and then it just oh wait, I still had the polygonal one selected. Just click once, and then you just drag it carefully along the edges, and it'll automatically put down little anchor points. So you can just go around the whole thing, and then once you say we got around the whole thing, you just connect it, boom. But what I'm going to do today is I'm just going to use my wand tool because I like it and it's simple and it's fast. So let's see how this one fares. Yeah, that's doing pretty good. I think it'll be enough. Okay. Let's try select. Do the best you can the first time, then we're going to refine it, so don't worry about it too much. The way we were going to refine it is by pressing Alt. See, now there's a plus sign. I don't know if I already said this or not, but there's a plus sign, you press Alt, there's a minus sign, it lets you deselect areas that you painted on. So we're going to want to zoom in and get rid of the stuff that we don't need. So once again, Alt to remove it, and then just go in, repaint it in there. The hair we want. Oh my god. Okay. What else is missing? Oh, that side of the headphone is missing, so we're gonna add that in, but not all this. Thank you. Okay. There we go. Perfect. Alright, then I think that's it. Oh, there's the eye, that's a little messed up there. Perfect. Okay, so now we have that selected, so okay, I need to rasterize the layer again. Apparently I cannot seem to remember this. Okay, so we want to do Ctrl-Shift-I, or actually no, let's keep this, but let's go to Refine Edge, and just without even looking, I just smooth it out just a little bit. You can see it right here on the shoulder. See how choppy it is? But that just makes it so much better, which not only does it make it look cleaner, it helps when you're adding in strokes and outer glows and drop shadows, because those will follow the edges of the image. So if the edges are jagged, so will be the drop shadow and the stroke and everything else you use. So once we have this, Ctrl-J to duplicate the selection, and there you have it. We have this stupid face ready to be used. So we're gonna make it bigger, and okay, now what we're gonna do is I'm gonna increase brightness and contrast for it right away, so I don't have to worry about that later. Okay, a little bit of contrast. Okay, same thing with the background. I'm going to do brightness and contrast. Not as much. Okay. And then going to layer. Once again, layer style, blending option. Let's start with outer glow. I think I'm going to give it some bluish. That's what I used the last time, and that's what I think I'm going to use this time too. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. It's a little too much though, so I'm going to just chill out a little bit, okay? There we go. Drop shadow as well, it's already back there. Stroke I don't need anything else, so yeah, hit. And by the way, feel free to play around with these. There's a ton of different things that you can do. Yeah, just play around with these settings. A lot of Photoshop is just playing around and discovering new things, so do that and you might discover some really helpful things. Okay, so we have that done. We need some text, so let's do that. Let's get some text open up. Alright, so I'm just gonna type in Rocket League, Rocket. I'm gonna make two separate layers. Of course I'm not gonna use this text though, this font. I'm not gonna use the same one I used in my original one. Let's go with this one. Is there a bigger one? Yeah, let's do that one. And I'm gonna make another layer underneath it with League. That way, the reason why I made two separate ones is so that I can move them around independently and set them up as I wish. And then you can select both by holding down Shift. You can select both layers, and then again Control T to transform them. That way you have both of them selected, but there's still two separate layers right there. So let's leave that there. enter to confirm, and then layer, layer style, gradient overlay is where we're going to start with this time. I'm going to give it a layer that's kind of reminiscent of the game. So in this case, it would be a blue and orange. So let's see what we can come up with. Okay, that's pretty good for the blue. What is happening? Okay, I don't know why my thing got frozen. And then orange. I want it to be a little brighter. No. Okay, that's looking pretty good. So we're gonna give it that. We're gonna give it some drop shadow. We're gonna give it some outer glow, and we're gonna give it some stroke as well. So the stroke we're gonna turn down way down. Not that much, but okay, that's looking decent. Let's do an even 10. Okay. Yes, and for the outer glow, we're gonna give it some kind of like purplish, which is the same color as my car, which I guess kind of sort of makes sense, and also it will help it stand out because right now it's somewhat easy to read, but as you can see, different colors will make a huge difference. Like white is basically unreadable, black makes it a lot easier to read. So yeah, you want to play around, zoom out a lot, see what works better. In this case, I think I'm going to stick with this one because I've already used this one, so it's fine. I'm just trying to show you guys how to do it. I'm not necessarily trying to make it so that I can use, but I might be spending a little more time if I were, just to make sure that it looks like I want it to. And then again, going to layer, do the same thing for the other one so that it has the same attributes. Outer glow, drop shadow, gradient, and stroke. Boom. And then hit OK. And yeah, and there you have it. Now we have that, and of course I'm gonna want to move it around and play it around with it a little bit. For example, maybe make it a little bit smaller so that it can be right there. Boom, and then, or actually, you know what? Bring that down a notch, and then move this up here. Okay. Yeah, so something like this. Again, it really does not matter. It's all up to you where you put it, how you put it, what colors you use. It's subjective, and it depends on the episode, it depends on the game, it depends on the composition, etc., 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 etc. But one thing that I already did apparently, but I wasn't supposed to have already done it. I had this one as a background, but I want to show you guys how to do something. So I brought in the original screenshot. For some reason I already had the edited one in there, so I undid that. I brought in the original one. I'm going to increase the brightness to it and the contrast as well. Okay, and then the one thing I wanted to show you was how to give it some semblance of motion, I guess. We're going to select the elliptical marquee tool by right-clicking right here and selecting that, and then we're going to go right about up here, drag it down to right about down here, and then we have this selection, right? So okay, rasterize the thing because I keep freaking forgetting to do that. Okay, rasterize the layer, and then okay, so right now with that selection, let's say I needed to paint it black on it, or sorry, let me invert the selection so I have the outer area selected. So like this is what it would do right now, right? With really sharp edges, but I don't want that. So what I'm gonna do is with the marquee selected, go to refine edge, make it smoother, but more importantly add feather to it. A lot of feather. This, you know, it depends. You won't be able to tell how well this would work, so you might have to undo it if it's too feathery, if it's not feathery enough. So now, if I were to paint on it with a brush, this is what it would look like instead. See, it's smoother, it's nicer, but this is not why I made it. The reason why I made it is because you can use this selection to apply filters to it, such as a radial blur filter. What the filter does is, it's usually set on spin. I set it on zoom because I prefer it. Spin does, it makes it like swirl, but zoom instead gives it this kind of zoomy look, which in my opinion helps drawing the eye in. It draws your attention to the center of the thumbnail, which is really helpful when trying to get people's attention, which is the whole goal of making a decent thumbnail. So yeah, you want to keep those kind of things in mind. You can see that these are just going in like that, so they're drawing your attention into your thumbnail. And it might not be that noticeable, but it's still noticeable. Even at a smaller scale, you can still tell. The other thing to keep in mind, if you guys don't know about it, is the rule of thirds. I don't know if you guys know what that is, but I'll try to explain it to you quickly. Look it up if you can, because I'm sure the internet can do a better job at telling you what exactly it is than I can. But basically, imagine your canvas is divided into thirds, like this. Okay. By the way I do this is by okay, there's here, let me show you. There's another little trick that might be helpful. So if you click, press shift and then drag down, click, press shift and then drag down, doesn't matter, I'm still drawing, but if you hold down shift, it will make a sharp, like a straight line, as opposed to this. And you can do the same thing by clicking once and then going over to wherever else you want, pressing shift, clicking again, and we'll connect the two dots. So you can just keep doing that and it will do this stuff. That's pretty convenient. So anyway, rule of thirds, imagine your thing is connected like that. Okay, you want to put your points of interest somewhere around these four intersections. So they don't have to be exactly there, but if you keep your interesting stuff, like let me see, there we go. If you keep your points of interest like on this side or on this side of the image, as opposed to right in the middle or like right up here or here, it will be much more interesting, because that's just how humans work. Like the human eye is drawn to things that have that kind of composition. Another thing to keep in mind as far as composition goes, if you can help it, try to again use your elements of your thumbnail to draw the eye in. So for example, if you have something up here and then your main focus point here, and you can like somehow kind of make it go like that, the eye will start from here and then it will just like be guided in, which is basically what's happening in this case, kind of, because your eye will start seeing this area most likely, and then it will like go down to look at the logo right here, and then it will probably be drawn right back in by all these whooshy looking things. I don't know how better to describe them, but yeah, so that's the basic idea. I hope you guys can use some of these techniques to make better thumbnails yourself, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comments. I'd be more than happy to answer them. And yeah, happy thumbnail making.